What is up, guys? Gonda Lindrum here. This video is about a sponsorship that PCBWay did of three PCBs on the Ekron project. The first of them being the Arctic PCB, which is this one. The second of them being the Keeps PCB, which is this one. I will show them in detail later. I will also write articles with pictures on the Ekron docs page, and you guys will be able to see the pictures better there. I'll have high resolution pictures. And also they sent me 5 of the Ekron rulers, which are this little nice piece of hardware here. Awesome. So, for you guys that don't know, PCBWay is a big PCB manufacturer in China, right? So they do both PCB fabrication, or PCBM, some people call it PCBM, which is PCB manufacture, and they also do PCBA, which is PCB assembly, meaning they can solder the SMD and the THT components for you. They have pick and place machines and reflow ovens and whatnot. My experience with PCBWay was always very good. I have had some hiccups, especially with some late keyboard PCBs that I've done with them, especially the Austin. We have some problems with those. So the Austin PCBs, they came with very bad scratches and scuffs, right? For you guys that don't know, the Austin is a 1800 CP layout, I think it's called. So it's like a compact full size. Let me show you. Let me show you guys. And we ordered the PCBs from PCBWay, but we did order what we call generally full turnkey, which is they produce the PCB and the assembly. Their price is always very competitive. If you go to other PCBMAs or full turnkeys, say for example PCB Train, PCB GoGo, JLC has a service now. Their price is always very, very competitive. So there is really nothing to do. Like I really can't say anything about their price, because they are always very, very close to their competitors. Let me guys show you the Austin here. I think that the thread is closed right now. Okay, so here have the Austin. Okay, so this is the Austin. It's on GeekHack. You guys can take a look at that later. Very nice keyboard. I designed the PCB. The PCB is my design. The case is designed by Phoenix Star. The plate is also too, and the GB runner is Drifting Bunnies from Drifting Mechanics, right? The PCB is open sourced through the Ekron project, so if you guys go to the Ekron docs, you will see it there. Let me take a look here. Austin. So there you go, everything's there. We ordered the PCBs. PCBs are very nice. PCBs are awesome. If you guys take the Drifting Mechanics Discord, you can see the PCBs, like the real PCBs. There are some renders here, but you can see the real PCBs as of today. Today being December 11th of 2019. The boards were not shipped yet. But the PCBs are already on Bunnies' possession, right? So we had a little bit of a problem with those PCBs, that they came with scuffs, they came with scratches, and in this hobby, if you pay $500 for a keyboard, which is the price of the Austin, I believe it was $450, plus PP fees, plus shipping and whatnot, this would easily get to $500, right? And when you spend $500 on a keyboard, you expect nothing but the best, right? So having scuffs and scratches on the PCB is acceptable to a very tiny level. People will take a look and say, huh, there's a scratch here, at a very low level. If the scratch is very noticeable, they will complain about it, and in my opinion, rightfully so, because that's a very expensive keyboard, right? Also the marks and the scuffs that the PCBs came with were very bad. We also had some problems with some components missing on the PCBs. And I directly messaged the PCBWay about this, and they solved the problem almost instantly. They sent new PCBs, like perfect, near perfect mint, assembled PCBs like for free, and we didn't even need to negotiate. They did it when they saw the problem. We talked with them, and they solved it. So I really like their support, their customer support too. Before the Austin, I have never had a problem with PCBWay, right? Then again, I know that this is a sponsored video, but that's my genuine experience with PCBWay. I have never had a problem with them, and that one time I had a problem with them, they solved it without question. So it's really awesome. PCBWay, the website being PCBWay.com, you can see their stuff there. You can order PCBs. Every price is there. They have amazing capabilities. They can do like 3 mil traces or whatnot. So really awesome stuff. Really awesome stuff. Okay, so the PCBs. If you guys take a look at the Ekron project, so here is the Arctic PCB. It doesn't have a documentation page yet, but I will write it soon. Also the Q's PCB, then again, doesn't have a documentation page yet, but I will write it soon. The Ekron ruler also doesn't have a documentation page because it's not a PCB per se, but I may add a documentation soon too. The PCBs themselves, they look great. If you guys take a look at the repositories, so let me show you guys the repos. Oh, no, not this one. Let me show you the repos. Okay, so it's Arctic. Okay, so this is the repo for the Arctic PCB, Gondolandrium/Arctic PCB, Arctic, don't forget about the C. Well, everything's there. The Arctic PCB is a plain style PCB, what I'd like to call plain style PCBs, because it has very limited compatibility. In this case, it has like only a single button row layout. And it has very limited features. This doesn't have LEDs, it doesn't have RGB, nothing. It's just the keyboard PCB and that's it. The layout was handpicked by Arctic Fox, which is a very dear friend of mine. It was handpicked by the man himself, right? 60% universal PCB. Universal in the sense that it has those poker mounting holes. So if you guys take a look, this should fit right into any 60% case that you guys buy, say the 5 degrees, the Tofu, the Polaris maybe, and something like that. So this is the PCB, right? For me, in the screen, it doesn't look right the same. Yeah, for me, it depends on the screen, but I can see on the video preview here that the blue from the video looks very much like the blue on the PCB. It's a very nice blue. It's a very nice PCB. So my review of PCBs is when I review PCBs, I have 4 main parameters. Let me just, yeah, I have 4 main parameters. The first being the quality of the pads, because that's the most important part. The quality of the pads and the quality of the finish, of the pad finish, metallic finish, is imperative. It is the most important thing because, well, the user that uses the PCB will need to solder and maybe sometime in the future desolder. So having quality pads is very important. PCBWay, I have never had a problem with their PCBs. I have a PCB that I did with them some time ago. I have soldered and desoldered serially many times and no problem whatsoever, no lifted pads and whatnot. This PCB here too, it has amazing pads. I think that the computer camera won't pick it up, but it won't focus even, like, what the okay, so yeah, it won't focus, but I will take pictures later and put them on the documentation. The pads are amazing. The pads are good. You know those pads that start lifted, that you see them and they're already lifted? No. No issues here. We also have the logo. Generally in my PCBs, I do those metallic logos. Some people call it 3D logos. They're actually plated, right? They are plated parts of the copper in the PCB, exposed plated parts in the copper of the PCB. And the logo looks fantastic. This logo looks amazing. Let me center on the camera. You guys, yeah, I believe that the computer camera won't be able to focus. Let me see if putting a paper here will do. Yep, no. Anyways, yeah, so it looks fantastic. The other parameter that I generally see in PCBs is the quality of the machining of the edges. Why? Some when you are talking about keyboards, there is a huge problem with keyboards that the final user of keyboards is generally a person that does not know electronics and design in full or even at all. And so the handling of these PCBs is done in a very amateurish way, in the sense that people can get cut. It happens sometime that people get cut. Some PCBs that I have, they get cut by like spare barbs on the cuts. The cut of this PCB looks fantastic. It feels good, it looks good, the cut. What impresses me about PCBWay and their cuts is that when you have holes that are very, very close to the PCB bottom, say for example this one, which is the backspace hole for the SAB, in the camera there, you will see that it looks like the hole is open. It's not. The hole is completely sealed and closed in this part. The same as with the spacebar stabs here. So the the hole is very close to the PCB edge, but it didn't cut this very tiny part. And well, so their CNCing is it's on par. It's very good. It's amazing. I really like how they did it. Yeah, no problems at all. The third thing I look in PCBs, I review PCBs, is the silk screen. So then again, if you guys see on these PCBs here, let me show you guys the GitHub for the Keeps PCB. So I believe that it's Castellated/Keeps PCB. Yep, it's this black PCB here, right? If you take a look at the silk screen of this PCB, let me click to zoom in. The silk screen is very tiny. I generally use 0.6 millimeters of height of these characters here, because there are parts that you get very clamped up. And honestly, to me, it looks better instead of like very big letters, right? Very big characters. And in this case here, I used like 0.6 millimeters or something like that. And it really amazes me how clean and clear they look on the PCB. Then again, they're so tiny that I think the camera won't pick them up. Then again, I will publish pictures of all of this. But for example, sorry, this part of the PCB here that has like many components and it's clumped up is this part here, right? You see? And well, you see that the silk screens get very clumped up there, and they look just, you know, you can read everything. You can see here and know which components are which. The silk screen is very clean. I love it. I really like it. Also on the JTAG here, this JTAG of the PCB here, which is this guy here. I think that my face is on. This guy here, right? This is the JTAG pad of the PCB for the MCU. It has some very tiny silk screen, and the silk screen is on point. This is really nice because when you need to maintain your PCB, desolder anything or solder the components or something like that, as well as you know, aesthetically looking, yeah, it's better. It's so much better to have those very clear components. Also for graphics. So if you're using like a logo, for example, this open source hardware logo that you see on the PCB here, which is this one, looks fantastic. It really looks good. It looks amazing. It looks very clear, very distinguished. On the other hand, for example, this is a Shark PCB. You guys might know it. This one is a prototype from a JLC PCB, and I have an open source hardware logo, the very same footprint, so it's the very same sizes. It doesn't look as good. Then again, I'll have pictures there, but it doesn't look as good, right? Also, and I might say this in my opinion, but this is my opinion, the JLC blue looks better than the PCBWay blue. I can't have that as a critique parameter. That's not something I can say the PCB is bad or good on. It's pure aesthetics. I particularly like the Shark PCB blue, the JLC blue, because it looks like it's a little bit greener, so it looks like an ocean. It's very nice. It really fits with the Shark theme, whilst with the Arctic PCB, it's a much more like very deep blue. It's beautiful too. Don't think that I'm saying that this blue is ugly. It's awesome. It's really beautiful. I think I just prefer this one. I did bring it up. So since I did bring Shark up and JLC PCB up, it's very clear how the characters on the Shark are not as distinguishable and clear as the characters on the Arctic. So the JLC PCB silkscreen is not as well done as PCBWay's, right? Finally, the fourth thing that I generally look for when I review PCBs are castellated holes. So then again, we had pads, we had the edge cuts and whatnot, we had silkscreen and castellated holes. For you guys that don't know, castellated holes are those holes that are like on the very edge of the PCB, like this one on the Shark. And those holes, they are plated on the inside. I know it won't be visible on the camera right now, but I will then again post pictures. On the inside, they are metallized, they are plated. These are castellated holes. It's very difficult to do castellated holes because plating this very edge of the PCB is really difficult for the manufacturer. And to the point that a PCB with castellated holes will cost more just because it has castellated holes, right? The big problem with castellated holes are two. First, the metal, it is sometimes you can scrape it off because it's exposed, right? The edge of the metallized part, sometimes you can just scrape it off. I couldn't with the Shark. Their metallizing is on point. The second problem with castellated holes is generally that you will leave barbs of metal on the holes, and that can cut you deep. It's like very tiny and very sharp barbs of metal, and that can really cut you. So yeah, that's what I generally look for. PCBWay's, it passes the 4 parameters with stellar colors. I really had no problem with everything. Quality-wise, the PCB is amazing. For the record, these PCBs here, I received 5 of each. They did arrive with some with some scuffs and some scratches. It happened that they send you the PCBs wrapped in a vacuum, on those vacuum plastics, right? So it's a bubble wrap that's vacuumed inside, so it's very tight. And for some reason, I have no idea, it came to me, the vacuum was not there. It was, it had holes, or there were not holes per se, there were tears, right? So that bubble wrap was torn, and the PCBs were free to move, and then they grinded one another, right? And then they came a little bit scratched, but it's very little. It's something that you have to be very picky to know. You have to look like against the light to see, it is really difficult to notice, but it is there. I will say that much. So how did this happen? How did I get a PCBWay sponsorship? So, a couple of months ago, Gloria, I don't believe her name is Gloria, by the way, because PCBWay, if I remember correctly, is Asian-based, and the people there, when they are dealing especially with customer support, they adopt Western names to make stuff better, but to make communication better. I don't know if her name is Gloria, but she contacted me as Gloria, so I'll call her that. She did message me saying that she got a hold of the Akron project somehow. I have no idea if someone sent her or if she saw it somewhere. I have no idea. But she did see the Akron project somehow, and she said she was happy to contribute and that she wanted to sponsor me. And I told her that I have lots and lots and lots of PCBs. The problem with the Akron project is that I generally don't earn nothing for doing these PCBs, and prototyping PCBs is costly. Sometimes prototyping a PCB will cost you $100 or something like that. So it's not something I have in my pocket like every day to spend on prototypes. So I'm really grateful for PCBWay to be sponsoring the Akron, especially these PCBs, particularly these PCBs. Because without them, these protos wouldn't happen. Okay. And she gave me $50 to spend on the site. That was what happened. It was $50 to spend on their site, and she paid for the shipping. At least for me, she paid for the shipping. So they did spend north of $70, $80 on these protos, which is amazing. Like, what? Yeah, it is amazing. And our agreement was that I would write an article about the PCBs. I would expressly say on the PCB pages of the 3 PCBs that they were sponsored by PCBWay and that they did sponsor these PCBs. And I would make this review video. So that's what I'm doing right now. Finally, I have the Akron ruler. For you guys that don't know, PCB designers, when we are testing a manufacturer of PCBs, we will generally have these, I think it's, the word for it is silly. We will have these silly projects like a card, a business card, or a ruler, or a painting, or something like that, that we send to the manufacturer so that he will, so that we can evaluate the quality of their PCBs, their stuff. And that's the case with the ruler. The ruler is a project, a small project that I did exactly so that you can send this to a manufacturer. Should be really cheap to do, and he will, and the manufacturer will send you these, and you can evaluate their manufacturing, their silkscreen, their pads, and their whatnot, their solder mask. Well, I really like how this turned out. The interesting part about the ruler is that you can easily, when you send this project to a manufacturer, you can easily see the quality of their metallization and their pads, because you have very close, very distant. You have holes. So in the Akron ruler, well, it is a ruler, so it has measurements. I believe these are in millimeters and these are in inches, imperial. You have the Acron logo here, plated, beautiful, and you also have the open source hardware logo here, and you have, you know, the Acron project and my name and the website for the Acron docs, right? On the back part, you have, so it is the MX switch footprints, the ALPS footprints, and the MX and the shock switch footprints. All of the footprints that I'm showing here, they are available on the Acron library, right? So you can download the Acron library here. You have the GitHub. I'm still building the documentation, but it will be there. Then again, then you have the a rotary encoder footprint. This is the ALPS EC11E series of encoders, which is what we generally use, which is what I use for my PCBs. We also have here the 04, 02, 06, 03, 08, 05, on 206, 0210, 16, 12, 1806, and 1812 sizes. These are for capacitors, inductors, and passive components, right? They have these sizes. This one here is the axial resistor, right? So this guy here is like the normal TH2 resistor that we generally use. These are the three connectors that I use in the Acron project. So this one is the Mini B, which is completely THT. It's awesome. This one is also a Mini B, but this one is SMD. This one I believe is on the elongate. And this is the USB-C connector that we generally use. Then we have some diodes. So we have the 5030 crystals, the 5032 2 pins, 0603 2 pins, 1216 4 pins, and 5032 4 pins. These four here for the crystals. These are for LEDs. So we have three LEDs here. The top one and the bottom one, which have holes, are reverse mounted LEDs, RGB LEDs. And the middle one is one of those WS2812, which we generally use for underglow. This one is the diode. It's for diodes. So we have the DO35 THT diode, which is generally the diode that we use. We have the SOD123, which is the most famous diode package. But you have SOD323, which is a small diode package, and you have an even smaller one, which is the SOD523. It absolutely won't show on the camera. You guys can see like something blurry there, but those are there. And then you have four quad packages here. You have Ultra, QFN48, QFN28, QFN44, and TQFB44. For you guys that don't know, these are the most common microprocessor footprints, those four on the corner there. Really amazing piece of hardware. So when you have one of these, I called Silly, I think that's the name. When you have one of these Silly projects, you use them to evaluate holes, to evaluate castellated holes, to evaluate silkscreen, to evaluate solder mask of that particular manufacturer that you are evaluating, that you are reviewing. And PCBWay, then again, they passed with flying colors. The CNCing, it looks amazing. The pads, they look everything, almost everything on this PCB is plated, right? So the pads, no problems at all. The connectors are amazing. The the solder mask, I have no scratches. And again, they sent me 5 of these, no scratches. There were some problems with the plating on the Acron logo here. It won't show on the camera, but you can see that there is one like small spot that a little bit of plating is missing, but at least for the logo, it's not a problem really. So, do I recommend PCBWay? Absolutely. PCBWay has very competitive prices. For prototyping, there is a problem because they do have a very strong competitor, which is JLC PCB, that does PCBs on a like very cheap scale, even with small quantities. Then again, the problem being that the Shark PCB, it's not on the same quality, so you really get what you pay for, right? So for example, remember the holes on the PCB? Here are stab holes for the Shark PCB, and they also came cut in the middle for JLC PCB. The silk screen doesn't look as clean. The color might be better, yes, but no, the silk screen is not good. You can see that the pads, they are streaked. When you see some streaks on the pad, that's generally an indication that the metallizing process was not done in a very meticulous way. So, albeit being cheaper, JLC PCB has a lower quality than the PCBs you will generally see on PCBWay, right? So if you are doing your prototyping and you think that you need for example, generally I have been having these ideas and asking for help on the community. So if you guys take a look at, for example, the Dottle 60, which is a PCB that I did, and the layout was chosen with J of Toplec, which is a full ISO plain style PCB. Even though these were only prototypes, and that's very clear on the page, the PCBs were done by PCBWay because they must be very quality, because even though they are prototypes, I will send them to people. People bought them. So if people are buying them, I want it to be top quality, right? So if you want PCBs that you're going to sell, or if you're going to present the work for someone, I highly recommend PCBWay. They are, in my opinion, at least in my experience, the best PCB manufacturer available. I have used from small quantities to very large quantities in many manufacturers, I'd say 10 plus manufacturers, and PCBWay for hobbyist level small quantities is the best one by far in my experience. Other thing that I must say is I must give some kudos to their PR people, to their customer support people, because they do, at least in the projects that I had with them, even before this sponsoring and after, they didn't fail me on the customer support a single time. Every time that I needed them, they responded quickly. They responded concisely and very on point. So I really like their way of doing things. It's very nice to see that they respect you as a customer. It's very nice. Well, that's what I had for this video. Then again, you guys be sure to check out PCBWay website if you guys want to test their facilities and their projections. Do an instant count with the Akron ruler. For example, the Akron ruler you can take, let me see, okay, Akron ruler. So here you are, you can take the Gerbers and just submit them to PCBWay and test yourself. Prices are competitive, prices are nice. Something that is really nice with PCBWay that I believe I have seen on PCB Train only was that they send it to Brazil, so I believe to the entire South America with e-packet. For you guys that don't know, e-packet is a very nice way to get stuff here into Brazil because it has a very low chance of being import taxed. So you have a low chance of paying importation fees on stuff that comes with e-packet. It also arrives, it also is, if not the most, one of the most faster shipping methods that isn't a courier. If you guys get a courier, it will 100% be import, it will be text. So we generally don't use that. We use ePacket, so they send ePacket, and the big majority of their competitors don't. So it's very nice that they do this. You guys can see the nice thing that they have very tight tolerances. So for example, I believe JLC only does 5.5 and 0.3. PCBWay does 3.3 and 0.15. So they have very nice tolerances, and it's really nice to see that going on. Then again, if you guys need an input, if you guys need anything from me, if you guys need an opinion, be sure to check out my Discord. I will leave the articles on the video description. You guys can see my contact. You guys can get how to message in me, how to reach me on the Ekron Docs page. Everything's here, preferably through Discord. And well, I see you guys then. If you guys need any more opinions, if you guys have any more questions, be sure to send them to me, and I will be glad and very happy to answer them for you. Then again, thank you PCBWay and Gloria, the representative, for sponsoring these PCBs. If it weren't for them, these PCBs, these protos, they wouldn't happen. I will be assembling these protos soon. Then again, this is December 11th, so the holidays are almost here, so I don't know if I'll have the time, but I will be sure to assemble these PCBs here and give you guys the feedback on the assembly process. Godspeed. Gone out.